When the first Kingdom Hearts was released, players bore witness to the birth of a now iconic weapon, the Keyblade. Ostensibly a sword or a club in the shape of a key, this weapon could change forms if outfitted with different keychains. And over the course of the ongoing Kingdom Hearts saga, Sora, Aqua, Riku and many other heroes have wielded dozens upon dozens of different Keyblades, some of which were obtained through regular progression, by simply clearing worlds and interacting with plot-relevant characters to move the story forward. But others were obtained from minigames and side quests, or from defeating difficult bonus bosses, and still others could only be earned after long sessions of resource hunting and item crafting. Across all three major areas, it meant there have been plenty of challenging scenarios facing those who sought the best weapons the franchise has had to offer. So without further ado, here are 7 of the hardest Keyblades to obtain from across the entire Kingdom Hearts franchise. And we're going to start with one that was earned by taking on one of the most famous villains in video gaming history. Kingdom Hearts was sold to audiences as a huge crossover game, one that was to see original characters blended with Disney IP and Final Fantasy. While latter games have opted to downplay the Final Fantasy elements, much to the chagrin of fans of the franchise. The first 2 mainline games featured characters like Squall, Aerith and Cloud in major supporting roles. And because of the addition of Cloud, it was almost mandatory to have Sephiroth not far behind. The original Kingdom Hearts featured a secret fight against Sephiroth at the Olympus Coliseum known as the Platinum Match. Set to a new arrangement of One-Winged Angel, this one-on-one duel between Sora and Sephiroth was easily the toughest fight in the original game, and this was for numerous reasons. Donald and Goofy were prohibited from joining, and you weren't able to use summons. And Sephiroth was just really unforgiving. But should players be dedicated and skillful enough to win, well, they were rewarded with nothing. Nothing but the satisfaction of having completed the greatest challenge the game had to offer. That was until the release of Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. In this enhanced version of the game, the fight was just as tough. But as Sephiroth was defeated, players were now rewarded with a cutscene and a brand new Keyblade called One-Winged Angel. This featured low base strength and MP reduction, but compensated by boosting the strength of critical hits to considerable levels. And as a reward, it was a little more appreciated than what was offered in that original game. While One-Winged Angel was obtained by defeating a single boss, by the time the franchise had arrived at Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop Distance, the developers felt like they needed to up the ante. So instead of having to beat just one challenging super boss, the expectation was instead that you'd have to beat no fewer than 11 challenging super bosses. After clearing the game for the first time, 11 new portals opened up across the worlds, 6 for Sora and 5 for Riku. Behind each of the portals, Sora or Riku could engage in a rematch with one of the bosses from the main game, only now they were supercharged with more health, boosted stats and deadlier attacks. Should players overcome these rather unfair odds, however, then they were rewarded with the Unbound Keyblade. What made this Keyblade special was that it gave a plus 18 boost to strength and a plus 14 boost to magic, but it also had a high critical hit rate and a strong chance to trigger reality shifts. These stats made it superior to Dream Drop Distance's version of Ultima Weapon, which suffered from a low rate of reality shifts. Simply put, Unbound was easily the most useful and versatile weapon in Dream Drop Distance, and after the hell players had to go through to acquire it, they certainly earned the right to take down any of the game's remaining challenges that may stand in their way with relative ease. Now, nearly every entry in the Kingdom Hearts franchise has featured a so-called ultimate weapon called Ultima Weapon, named as an homage to the weapon of the same name that has often been seen as an ultimate weapon in the Final Fantasy franchise. Due to its status, unlocking the various iterations of Ultima Weapon has never been easy, but we've decided to focus on one found in Kingdom Hearts Final Mix. In the base version of the game, synthesis was relatively straightforward, and most crafting ingredients necessary to complete recipes and unlock new tiers of synthesis items could be unlocked through regular play, with only a few requiring a little bit of grinding here and there. Final Mix, however, added new enemy types that had to be faced as more of a puzzle than a straightforward combat encounter. Enemies like the Giga Shadow, Stealth Shadow, Sniper Wild, and Grand Ghost all required a specific strategy to defeat, and as such, it wasn't always clear how to defeat them and acquire their rare synthesis materials. Most of these enemies were also extremely rare, only appearing in 1 or 2 rooms in the entire game, and even then, they only appeared a certain percentage of the time. On top of that, many of these rare enemies simply disappeared if engaged incorrectly, or, even worse, some of them were surprisingly powerful and could deplete Sora's HP in a matter of seconds. However, with some luck and perseverance, players could acquire all the rare synthesis ingredients, craft all the items, and unlock the final set of recipes for Sora, Donald, and Goofy's ultimate weapons. Ultima Weapon itself required Thunder Gems, Mystery Goos, Serenity Powers, Stormy Stones, and Dark Matters, all of which were difficult to find. But upon bringing the appropriate quantities to a Moogle, players could finally, at last, craft their Ultima Weapon. If the player had yet to complete any of the bonus bosses, then this weapon was a must for trying to turn the tide in their favour. Some Keyblades look cool, while others look silly. But no Keyblade has ever looked as tasty as Sweet Stack. Sweet Stack could be earned for each of Birth by Sleep's 3 main characters by unlocking every flavour of ice cream in Disney Town, a task that was easier said than done. This was because finding rare ingredients required farming the prize pod enemy, a unique unverse that appeared across the various worlds. Thus, unlocking the Sweet Stack required travelling to every single world multiple times, searching for a prize pod, and figuring out strategies to cause the enemy to drop the maximum amount of ingredients per encounter. Eventually, after collecting enough ingredients and crafting every flavour of ice cream, Terra, Ventus, or Aqua were rewarded with the Sweet Stack Keyblade. The blade was made of ice cream scoops, 4 for Ventus, 5 for Aqua, and 6 for Terra, while the handle was adorned with a pair of soft serve ice cream cones, and even the keychain bore the visage of an ice cream sundae. In terms of stats, the Sweet Stack was none too shabby either. It featured a 100% critical hit rate that paired well with a decent +6 boost to the strength stat. Kingdom Hearts 3 featured the Grand Chef Keyblade, and it could only be obtained by completing the game's extensive Restaurateur minigame. As part of the story, Sora was brought back to Twilight Town, where he met up with Scrooge McDuck, who had invested in a new business endeavour, a restaurant, or bistro to be precise. The head chef was none other than Remy from Ratatouille, referred to here as the Little Chef. Le Grand Bistro started out as a 0-star establishment, but with some help from Sora, the restaurant could become a legendary 5-star business, earning Little Chef critical acclaim and presumably granting Scrooge a healthy return on his investment. By further upgrading Le Grand Bistro to a 5-star rating, players could also unlock the Grand Chef Keyblade. But in order to do that, they needed to unlock all 20 regular recipes and score an excellent rating on their respective minigames. On paper, that's not too difficult. However, in practice, the minigames were surprisingly complex, requiring pinpoint control over the analog sticks and precise timing of inputs. Upon obtaining the first star, Sora was granted the Gourmand's Ring, which contained the Chef's Extraordinaire Auto ability, which made the excellent rating slightly easier to achieve, but players still needed Nerves of Steel in order to bring the Bistro to 5 stars and unlock the Grand Chef weapon. Curiously, the Keyblade stats were relatively modest for an in-game weapon, though its form change, Frying Pan, allowed defensive-orientated players to unleash powerful counterattacks, even if it was just essentially a slight variation of the hero's origin form change, Counter Shield. Nevertheless, no other Keyblade could beat the novelty value of decimating your enemies with a facsimile of the Eiffel Tower. Kingdom Hearts has had a long and strange fascination with mushrooms. The original game featured the White Mushroom, Rare Truffle, and Black Fungus enemies, and they stood as unique heartless that required patience and strategic thinking to defeat and earn their rare item drops. The Final Mix re-release added even more mushroom types, but they were conspicuously absent in Kingdom Hearts 2. However, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix brought them back in a big way, as the Mushroom 13, wacky counterparts to the game's main villains, Organization 13. In order to unlock the winner's proof Keyblade, Sora needed to defeat all 13 members of the Mushroom 13. But perhaps defeat is the wrong word, since they tested Sora with unique challenges, like needing to hit them a certain amount within a limited timer, dodging a certain amount of attacks, or picking up dropped item prizes. Upon completing each of these challenges, Sora was rewarded with a letter grade. Getting an S rank on each challenge was required to get Donald and Goofy's ultimate mushroom weapons, and finishing all 13 challenges rewarded players with the Winner's Proof Keyblade and the Proof of Peace key item. Winner's Proof boasted incredible stats, including a +7 boost to Magic, the highest magic boost of any Keyblade in the game. It also looked pretty cool, with all 13 members of the Mushroom 13 represented across the weapon and its keychain. However, Winner's Proof's auto ability, 0 XP, was a bust. Most players would have hit level 99 by the time they probably unlocked the Keyblade, so the lack of experience wasn't exactly a handicap, but it also didn't provide any kind of advantage either. As such, Winner's Proof was best assigned to one of Sora's limit forms, where players could take advantage of its strong damage output without being constrained by its effective lack of an auto ability. That then brings us to one of the most memorable Keyblades from across the franchise, Oblivion. In the original game, it was a shadow-coloured weapon that could be obtained in Hollow Bastion's Grand Hall, and to emphasise its significance, this particular Keyblade appeared in Kingdom Hearts 1's secret movie, Another Side, Another Story, where it was wielded alongside the Oathkeeper blade by a mysterious, hooded figure. Sora was then able to obtain Oblivion again in Kingdom Hearts 2, but at launch, Oblivion was not present in Kingdom Hearts 3. It was only after a post-launch patch introduced critical difficulty to the game that this changed, as upon clearing critical mode, players earned the Proof of Times Past key item. If this was then brought to a Moogle, they granted Sora the Oblivion Keyblade, which was one of the most powerful in the game, as its auto abilities, Form Changer Extender, HP Converter and Situation Boost, plus its Form Change Dark Form, elevated it beyond Ultima Weapon. Of course, beating the game in critical mode was no easy task. This new mode was absolutely brutal, and Sora could have his HP drained in just a couple of hits thanks to low starting stats and slow stat growth. Combined with a 25% reduction in EXP earned, and the first half of the game in particular was tremendously difficult. Things became more manageable as the game progressed though, but only elite Kingdom Hearts 3 enthusiasts have been able to complete the game on this difficulty setting. Should the feat be accomplished though, then Oblivion could be brought forward to tackle the Remind DLC and its notoriously difficult limit cut and secret episodes. But with that, they were 7 of the hardest Keyblades from across the Kingdom Hearts franchise. Are there any others that you feel deserve a mention on the list? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe so you get notified when we publish new content. Alright everyone, with that, this is Darryl signing out. I'll see you all again soon for more Kingdom Hearts goodness.